Buongiorno mondo, and welcome back to 15 with Fosca, the podcast. I am so happy to have with me here today Sandrine Kom. Good morning. Buongiorno, Sandrine.
Bonjour, Fosca.
Oh, I love hearing your voice. I am delighted to be sitting down with you finally to have a conversation about the many things that you and I talk about sort of off camera and far away from the microphones in our daily lives, because you've become a collaborator, you've become a friend, and it was sort of the magic of reality TV that brought us together and really solidified our relationship. So thank you for coming on the podcast. I want to start really by asking you about your background and what brought you to Italy. You're very different from my typical guest. My typical guest usually is balancing life between two countries, sometimes maybe among three. But you have such an interesting, multilingual, multicultural, and international background. So tell me about that, and tell us all how you ended up here in Tuscany, in Florence.
Okay, so I will try to summarize Fosca. So my father is from Cameroon.
Okay.
My mother is from Russia. They met in Moscow. But I was born and I grew up in Paris.
Okay.
So 12 years spent in Berlin. I needed some lightness, you know? I needed some sensuality. And a friend of mine told me, why don't you go to Florence? You know, this is not far away from France. The sky is blue. I said, okay. So I gave up everything. And I arrived in Florence 25 years ago. And I didn't arrive for love. I arrived like this, life-changing. I was not expecting that I would leave everything, job, apartment, my ex-husband, etc., etc.
Oh my goodness, this is juicy. I like that.
Yes. So, and when I arrived in Florence 25 years ago, I had to luck to meet immediately after 1 month my second husband.
Amazing.
And to be honest with you, I am so in love with Tuscany. Not in love with Florence, but with Tuscany. I cannot explain it. I think this is probably the generosity of the round hills, the green. I live in the countryside. And the food, mamma mia, the wine, and the blue sky, and the fact that people welcome you always with ciao bella. You know, it makes a big difference when you start your day.
It really does. So you've been here as long as I have, 25 years. So when you first came, what did you do? Because Sandrine's background is in the bio, in the show notes, but your background is really, really interesting. And I know that you wanted to summarize it, but I think it's important that we talk a little bit about your background and your formation. So, I mean, you left Berlin, but you have a degree in communication and economics. You also hold certifications in, you're a yoga teacher, you are a SlowLife yoga coach, a SlowLife coach, you have a nutrition coach, and here you are, and you just end up in Tuscany and you say, okay, this is it, I'm gonna stay. So how did you reinvent yourself here?
Okay. So when I was in Berlin, so I studied at the French school, the French lycée.
Yeah.
And then I went to the university. As you said, I did a degree in communication. And I had the luck already to work for Louis Vuitton because I decided to write my thesis about luxury. So I wrote my thesis, Luxury, the End, example. Sorry, what was that? The title was The Luxury at the End of the 20th Century, example Louis Vuitton.
Nice.
So that was for me very interesting to start Louis Vuitton, to observe, etc. And then when I arrived in Florence, I asked Louis Vuitton if there was the possibility to work in Italy. But I will be honest with you, I could just resist, 2 weeks because it was so challenging, and also the salary slip in Germany, comparing to Italy, I said, my gosh, I need to find a husband, How can I survive?
That was, people don't talk about it that much. We talk about it a lot with my American guests, but there's also a huge disparity between salaries within the EU. So coming from Germany, there's a huge salary drop, and you felt it. And so you said,
I said after 2 weeks, I'm sorry. It's
this is not going to work out.
I'm sorry. So I left it, and then I had the possibility to work, kind of fundraising for an association, and then I had the possibility to work for European projects, as a secretary to organize, events for, in the medical field. So it was very interesting. And then my mother passed away. My mother passed away, and I got some little money, and I said, okay, this time, Sandrine, don't be stupid, because, I have, how can I say that? I'm not very disciplined with money. I said, this time, I really want to do something with this money. Yeah. So I said, okay, I would like to do something. I want to study nutrition coaching. Because, I had always a complicated relationship with food. I always used food as comfort food. And I said, I need to find strategy. I need to build my own strategy. And what was helping, it was using the slowness. So, and then I developed all this business with SlowLife coaching and SlowLife yoga, step by step, very slowly.
And very intentionally. And I love what you said. And so I want to get back to Vuitton just for a second, because there is luxury in your business. The word luxury is important to you, and it doesn't mean just Vuitton bags. So your motto is actually, slow life is quiet luxury. And so I want you to talk about that. What do you do in your work, but also in your life, to cultivate that luxury, which so few of us have, which is time, energy, the ability to balance things, to do the things that we love, to be with the people we love, right? So is that the kind of luxury that you're talking about? And how do we make more room and time for luxury in all of our lives?
You use a keyword, which is really the main keyword, time. Our relationship with time, which is very subjective. Slow life coach. This is not by case that I developed these things with slow life coaching, because we need slowness. We need slowness in order to enjoy our life, to enjoy the people who are around us, to avoid misunderstanding, to find harmony with ourselves, to take care of our values, and also we need slowness to take care of our deepest needs. This is really my motto. Slow life is quite luxury. I had the luck, let's say, to see a little bit how the luxury world is working, and I realized this is not that. This is not the Chanel bag. This is not the Louis Vuitton bag. What will make me happy? This is really the sensation to have time. So. It means in the morning, okay, I have the luck to be an early bird, it's true.
Me too.
Yeah. I saw that on the WhatsApp that you sent me the time. And I need 3 hours minimum in the morning, because I need a lot of times in the bathroom to prepare myself. I will have my yoga practice. I take a lot of time with my dog, everything. Then my breakfast, my God. After my breakfast, I need to read something with my coffee, So there are a lot of rituals. And then I will enjoy a walk with my dog and everything. And people can say, okay, not everyone can do that. It's true, I repeat, because some people are also night owls. But this is really things which are not negotiable. I need to take my time in the morning. If I don't take my time, I would have a bad day. This is the thing. So,
I'm the same way.
Yes.
Exactly. And I think it's so helpful the way you frame time for your clients and in our personal conversations, but something that you said and that you also say in your social media and in your posts, which I appreciate very much because they're in multiple languages, and which I think is so nice, but also because you give these really nice, they're like haikus. They're like words of wisdom. And I think I mentioned this to you, but I'm going to tell you. So the other day, I was flipping out, right? It was probably Friday, as I often do. I'm like freaking out. I have no time for this. I woke up in the worst mood because I was like, oh, it's Friday. And then I was like, oh, I have so much to do. And then I remembered I had seen one of your posts. And I'm not joking here, but I had sort of seen it in my feed in the morning, you know, whatever. And I had liked it, and I thought, okay, I'll go back to it later and say something because, you know, I was heading out because I was busy. And I was stressing out, and my heartbeat was accelerating. And I was like, wait, what did Sandrine say? You have time, Sandrine. And I said, you have time, Fosca. And I felt better because I was like, I do have time. What's the rush? What's going to happen if I do this? Now, in some cases, it's not that controllable, right? But in a lot of cases, it really is a question of us saying, giving ourselves permission to take the time. And that's the difference. And I thank you for that.
I'm so happy that you see it works. Really, as soon as you notice that your breath is changing and you start to get agitated, nervous, bad mood, my God, I have to do this,
Yeah.
you just say slowly, I have time.
Yeah.
And then you notice that you calm down. And it's so true, you have time, you make it.
Exactly.
You arrive on time, you do everything on time. And this is the reason why this is also part of my life philosophy. I love this Indian proverb which says, when you are in a hurry, walk slowly. And Fosca, this is so true. I notice that when I think, oh my gosh, I will come late in my appointments, blah, blah, blah. I forget my keys, where's my phone, or this thing doesn't work. But if I say, okay, I will walk slowly, and I come on time. It's very simple. I don't know, there is a kind of magic happening, you know? So
I think, you know, you give us very concrete ways, simple things, right? Saying, you know, a mantra, you have time, and then making that a reality. Or another example I loved that you gave recently was stopping at a traffic light, okay? Now, you and I both drive in the Florence area. I talk about this a lot. It is stressful. And, you know, I try to stay calm, and usually I'm not an agitated driver at all. I'm very calm. I listen to music, I listen to podcasts, I sing. But I love the fact that you said, let's be grateful for the red lights, because they give us however many seconds it is, depending on the light. Sometimes it can be a couple of minutes, but there's nothing else we can do, especially if we're alone in the car, right? So there's no one to talk to. You can be listening to the radio, but it's a moment for us to stop and reflect. And so I appreciate the way you dispense these little tips and tricks that we can all use in our lives, right? To slow down. So tell me more about, because I want to talk about our experience together on a recent Italian reality TV show, but I also want to talk about, I want you to talk about what the goal of our experience was and what happens in a SlowLife yoga lesson, because that was the experience that I had chosen for Sandrine to lead me and my fellow contestants and our celebrity host in a vineyard in the beautiful hills of the Chianti, right by Villa di Rignana, the Fattoria di Rignana. But what are those principles of a SlowLife yoga session, and how is it normally playing out with you and your clients?
Okay, so first of all, I have to tell you that I found so great doing for this show that you decide to say, I would like to propose to the people something what is not stressful, because we really need it. So it was a beautiful gesture of kindness to propose that. And my SlowLife yoga, there is the word slow life yoga. This is a gentle meditative yoga. What does it mean? It means that we are very respectful to our body. It doesn't mean that we have to make our body suffering. Our body is not our enemy. This is really the opportunity to reconnect to our needs. This is always what I am seeking for, to reconnect what are my deepest needs in this moment, because that will help me, for instance, not to eat, or not to do this, or not to get angry, frustrated. What are my needs in this moment? So, and this with this show, that was very interesting because I knew that Francesco had some experience with yoga, so
he's very passionate about yoga, meditation.
Exactly, but of course my yoga, my type of yoga, was maybe not his cup of tea, because a lot of people, they love, especially men, I noticed that they need a kind of dynamic yoga. So it's very, this is very often meditative, but also physical.
Okay.
So I knew that for the show, I cannot propose this show. It must be something funny, and it was very funny. We had a lot of fun with my husband. My husband, when he watched the show with me the first time, he was really laughing because it was nice, sympathical, and everything. And I knew that I couldn't propose this gentle meditative yoga. So it has to be a little bit like...
there has to be entertainment.
Yes, entertainment.
Yeah.
And it was okay. But what I usually propose to my... to the participants of my yoga session, first of all, this is a beautiful space where they can release already physically and mentally a lot of tension using the beauty. Everything is beautiful yoga mat, beautiful lights, beautiful fragrances. I use the voice, the slowness, in order that people surrender more and more. And at the end of the session, I always ask, how do you feel now? And the word Fosca is always the same, peaceful.
Yeah.
So it means that you stop to be in war with yourself, and the world around you is not anymore your enemy.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said this, because let's reveal a little about the reality of reality TV, which is you called surreality TV. I remember we had a phone call the day after we filmed my episode, my day, whatever, not the episode. Anyway, so you and I kind of knew each other before the show, but the show really brought us closer together. And, people out there probably don't know that in order to get to that lesson of slow life yoga with you, I had to propose like 50 different activities. But yoga was my first choice, and I wasn't specific about it, but the reasoning for me was very much in line with your philosophy, which is I go to the Chianti because I live in a hectic city, I have a crazy life, and when I go to the Chianti, I want to relax, I want to reconnect with nature, I want to reconnect with myself, I want to eat well, I want to drink well, and I want to have a good time. And so for me, yoga really embodied, especially in that beautiful space. Like for me, that is just, it was inspiring just to connect with nature that way, to really be surrounded by this. I mean, we were all alone in the middle of this vineyard with you, doing really relaxing and peaceful yoga, right? But what, people don't see is the magic of reality TV, which is, that was how many times did we have to, shoot that scene, or, why, just doing a meditation in the middle of a vineyard wouldn't have worked because it doesn't have any comedy, right? And so I think about it often because, we did 5 days, you were involved in a morning, let's say, of shooting. We were supposed to start very early in the morning. We ended up starting. So this is all the stuff you don't see, okay? And then, we get to the location and there's waiting and there's setup, etc. So by the time we start shooting, we're already, everyone's hungry, sort of sweaty, etc. And it became this like crazy moment of comic relief, right? But and at the time, I think the both of us were really puzzled because I was like super into it, right? I'm like, like finding, because I'm not a yogi, you know this. I play tennis, I'm like super, but something I told you that I'm really trying to get closer to in my life is meditation, yoga. I need to calm down, I need to slow down. So for me, this was like, oh, finally, I get to sit in the middle of a field and just relax. And I was like, what's going on? And so, you realize that there has to be a motor that drives reality TV. And I think something that neither you nor I realized at the time was that there is a narrative there was a script. A lot of it was spontaneous, but there are also things that sort of like had to happen. And I think a big part of that is the sort of comedy, that the comic aspect that our experience took, which for me was just like, what just happened here? But at the same time, I felt very relaxed. I was relieved because I was so stressed out because I was going into my day where I had to show everybody that I was the best, which, spoiler, I wasn't, but I came in second. Anyway, but how was that for you? Like, how did that feel? Even just being the experience of, because like I didn't know, I don't watch TV very much. I had certainly never been on TV. How was that for you? Like, what did it feel like just standing there and teaching us, but having all these Manuela rolling down the hill, and Gregorio was like, I don't know if I can get my legs like this, and you're like, you guys can do it, you're doing great, and I'm there and like I'm so concentrated. And what were you feeling?
Wow, that was you said the right word, really a surreal moment, because yes, I'm like you, I'm not very with TV, I just have some little experience, but and okay, there was this beautiful landscape, everything amazing, but then I was not very convinced. The yoga mat there is not very,
Yeah.
I need something flat. I'm a little bit perfectionist, it has to be comfortable for the, that you can surrender without any tension, but okay, I understand. For the scenography, it was looking beautiful, and yes, and when I saw the participants, I said, okay, we need to adapt it because, I'm very careful. For me, it's important that nobody can have any kind of injury, get hurt, because, working with a lot of American clients, so you have to be careful. And when I saw Emmanuel falling down, my gosh, I said, what is that? What's happening? I was so surprised, but it was part of the game.
Yeah.
And it was great because they were very smart at the TV how they did it, because they prepared always little surprise.
Right.
In order to see how do you react, so you have to keep smiling,
right?
But you think, what's going on?
In fact, when I rewatched it, I'm laughing because the whole episode is very funny, I have to say. But all of the episodes, in actually all 4 of the pilots that they did, there's always a comic moment, right?
Yes.
But I think what you and I, because we were there, we know how many hours of shooting were involved and things like that. For it to boil down to how many minutes, I didn't even time it, but just a few minutes, right? So I was really relieved when I saw it because, first of all, I didn't remember very much at all. I guess I was just like, okay, let's move on. But also I was relieved because I was like, I remember some other comments that I'm really glad got cut out. But, we have to keep that in mind. There was much more footage than what ended up being included. But I think what made me happy, in addition to the fact that, I think it's a great activity. I can't wait to do it with you. Again, maybe just the 2 of us this time. But we all did feel better afterwards, And we all said that because it is stressful to be on reality TV, Sandrine. It was grueling. And, even for people who are used to it, like the crew, and like our celebrity host, we have to remember this was the first time that they'd ever filmed the show. It's very ambitious. 3 different locations every day, a minimum of 3 locations every day, driving through the county, which you know well, because you live at the start of the county. So all those little roads. You saw the crew, and it was a big, I don't even know how many of us there were. So it's a lot. But I think the thing that made me happy, because we were worried about it, and let's admit, we'll be honest, Sandrine and I were worried about it. Thank you, Nove, for making us both look good. But I also think one of the reasons we did become so close over the past few months is that we shared this crazy experience that not a lot of people understand. And so for me, actually, it gave me strength having you there. I was very stressed about this performance because I didn't look at it as a performance. Anyway, I thought it was just going to be me, like you probably thought you were going to be you, but neither of us was really us, but kind of were. Anyway, I was very worried going into it. And so for me, to start the day with you, my day, in that place, which is on our friend Sveva's property, and also like seeing her at the end of the day calmed me. And I could have used like a SlowLife yoga lesson with you every morning of those 5 mornings. But it was for me this, and I think everyone felt it, because when I rewatched the episode, you know, I had forgotten a lot. It was intense, you know,
Oh, yes.
and I bet you had probably forgotten a lot too. And I remember when I watched the episode, I said, Sandrine, I had forgotten, but at the end, like, we all really thank you. Like, we all felt different. And there's something that I don't know if you know, but there were members of the crew who thanked me. And that felt good, because I said to them, you all need this. We all need this, right? How did you feel after the lesson?
You know, it was something very powerful. There was a special exchange of energy, because I could really notice that the thank you that I got, it was coming really from the heart.
Yeah.
From Francesco, Gregorio, Emmanuel. I saw, yes, on your face a relief. I really noticed that you were,
Yeah, I was really worried.
So it was, yes, of course. So there was tension. So that was, yes, that was a very nice moment. And also the smiles of the crew was, okay, good job.
Yeah.
And also from the writers of this, of the show, everyone was satisfied, happy. It was good, and it's true. It was a magical place, and the idea was great. Your idea to propose this gentle yoga to start the morning. You know, it reminds everyone. Okay, we have a very stressful life, but we can find a moment, just
Exactly.
to stop the time.
Right. And that was the goal of my weekend, right? And that's why you were such a big part of it. I want to talk, because we haven't talked about it much, I want to go back to, before we talk about your retreats and your special workshops, I want to go back to your nutrition coaching, because I don't know that much about that aspect of your work, because you and I focus on other aspects. But I'm very curious to know more about that work and what you do. And if there are, the way you give little tips about slowness, if there are also just a couple of little tricks maybe you could share with us, all of us, about ways that we can feel better, through the way we eat. We're spoiled here in Tuscany and in Italy in general, but are there things that you share with your clients that maybe could be a little applicable to all of us?
Absolutely, Fosca. The first thing is, I think this is very dangerous when we eat politically correct. What does it mean? It means when you say to yourself, okay, this is Monday, from Monday I will eat only a yogurt and then 2 apples and this, and no chocolate and no this and no that. And I already know that you will get a very salty invoice. The bill will be terrible, because the political correct in the long time or in a short time, it doesn't work, because we do it always in a nasty way to ourselves. We are always like a general, a colonel to ourselves. Don't do this, don't do that. Look at yourself in the mirror, etc., etc.
We are so critical of ourselves, especially women.
Exactly.
It's terrible the way we treat ourselves.
So this is the first things. I don't think this is a good idea to eat politically correct. Okay. If your body is telling you, oh my gosh, I need some potato chips, I need some chocolate, give it that to your body. This is, a beautiful bell telling you, I need something. But in that case, okay, when you say, okay, we will buy, don't worry, Sandrine, we will buy some chocolate, you will get your chocolate. Just to know, why do I need my chocolate now? Okay, then you will start thinking, and maybe because you got this phone call that made you feel uncomfortable, or maybe because you have to send the email and you haven't done yet and you feel guilty. So this is important to understand the reason why I need it. Yeah. And then the other mistakes that we often do when we come home as women, let's concentrate on the woman situation. Women, we are multitasking, so very often we go to the groceries, we come back home to traffic jam, we have to cook, and the husband and the kids, what we will eat tonight, and the dog, everyone wants to eat. So we cook very fast. We do everything so fast. We put everything on the table. We sit on the table. We eat fast in order that we can wash the dishes fast and in order that we can finally rest on the couch and watching Netflix. That's it. This is So one of the strategy will be when we come back home and everyone is springing on you, just to say, just a moment, I'm coming, I will be there for you, just give me a few minutes. Like a lot of men do. What do, men? They go to the restroom, they disappear for minimum 20 minutes. Let's say that, no? And they start really...
I'm not saying anything, you said it.
This is like this, you know, and they're smart.
They're very smart.
I learn from them. I say, okay. So when I arrive, I go to the bathroom. But just to take time, you know, I will start, okay, I have short hair, but I start brushing my hair. I start washing my hands, to put something, just to relax, in order to have the sensation, okay, this is my moment. You know, I'm not a fan of Beyoncé, but Beyoncé, she says something very smart, which is a little bit now my life philosophy. She said, you know, I just need to remember I deserve it. So every time I deserve it, I deserve it. And this moment in the bathroom is really my moment to reconnect and to start slowly, to cook, to prepare everything like this. This is very important that when you sit at the table, you sit in a relaxed way. So be sure that your shoes, you put it away, you are comfortable with your pants, with everything, you know, that I don't know, not too loud music, no TV, you know what I mean? Something very relaxing. And also that if you eat with, I don't know, the members of your family, that they also help you, that they stand up and they go to the kitchen to bring the dishes, you know, the meals. Not only you are not Cenerentola. How do you say
Cinderella?
Yes. You just have to remember you are not that.
I try.
Yes.
I love this. Thank you once again for tuning in to this week's episode of 15 with Fosca and for continuing to do so. Grazie mille e alla prossima volta.